All right, welcome back. In the first part, we went over Memo and SLP tokens and using them on Memo by creating and sending and selling. And now we're going to dig under the hood and understand how this all works. So, to start, let's look at um, the transactions we did before. So with the M15 tokens. And let's dig into the SLP protocol a little bit. So this is an example SLP transaction. And you can see here is the op return part. If you go to the SLP protocol, and to sending, and send. Okay, so this is what the op return is supposed to look like in a send. So first you put the SLP prefix, token type 1 always, and then send the hash of the token that you're sending, and then the quantities of the token. So look at this transaction. You can see this is the SLP prefix, token type 1 as always, send the token hash that you're sending, and then there's this means 100 tokens goes to the first out index, and then this is the second. So 100, and then 999,000. So that's a typical SLP transaction, a send, and how it looks. So if we go back to the M15 tokens, and look at the sale. So now we're going to dig into the Memo exchange protocol. So first, and actually, let's look at exchange that hasn't occurred yet, one that's just a listing. So if we look at what's for sale, look at this offer. So we can see there's a sell transaction and a signature transaction, and this is still an open offer. And then this is a completed offer, and it has the third transaction, which is the sale itself. And this is transferring of the tokens. So let's take a look at the first. This user 12F is listing the M15 tokens for sale, and this is the protocol. So if we go to and look at the protocol for the token exchange, you see there's 2 or 3 actions. This middle action we've kind of gotten rid of. It's not necessary, or it's not used in the instant bodies. So just 6030 and 6032 you have to worry about here. So 6030 is the first one we're looking at, which is right here, 6030. And basically the prefix, and then these input-output options, and those are down here. So type 1 is input, and the rest are outputs. And basically you're saying, 6030 says, I want to create an offer that includes these inputs and these outputs. So, type 1, type 1 is an input, and so that means the next item after that is the transaction hash and the index, which is an UTXO. So you're saying, I want this UTXO as an input, and then 3 means I want Bitcoin coming back to me of this quantity as an output. So this says op return 6030. I'm listing an item. This input, which is the 10 M15 tokens, and then as an output, I want this much payment. So that's listing an item for sale. And then to make it an instant buy, you got to put your money where your mouth is, which in this case means attaching a signature to your offer. So 6032, you put the prefix, then the listing hash, which is the hash of your 6030 transaction, and then the necessary signatures. So this is 6032, a reference to the offer hash, and then this is a special sig hash, single sig hash, anyone can pay signature. And since our first sale was just a single input, single output, so remember, sorry, this is running on my local computer, and recording video is a little slow. So one input, the token, and one output, the payment. This can use the signature type, which will only sign one input and one output. And so you're attaching the signature, and then that allows a buyer to create a sale, to create the transfer. So user 12F posted the sale and the signature, and then let's say they went offline, they went to bed or whatever. And later on, the buyer comes along and sees the sale and generates the rest of the transaction. So they add their input, they add the op return, they add their token output and some change. And then they sign it with their signature. And then since this one has the sig hash, single sig hash, anyone can pay signature, and has signed this input output pair of this specific UTXO and this payment output, then this signature can be used for this input, and this is a valid transaction that can be created. Now the buyer, even though the seller is now asleep, can generate this transaction and broadcast it and transfer the tokens to themselves and the payment to the seller. And then later on when 12F comes back online, they will see that they have their payment and that their tokens have been sold. So this is pretty cool. This is how an instant buy can occur even when the seller is offline. Using secure atomic transaction, the buyer can't steal your tokens and the seller can't steal your satoshis. It's all happens at once. So that covers the protocol and how it works. One other question people have is, okay, so I can list my tokens for sale and people can buy them instantly, but can I find a token that I like and make an offer to buy it, and then have a seller come by later and purchase it? And unfortunately, that's not the case. That's not possible in this system. As you can see, so in this case, this is a normal signature that signs this whole transaction, and this is the seller's signature that signs this input-output pair. If we switch things so that we're the other way around, where the buyer pre-signed and the seller generated the rest of the transaction, where this is the sig hash single, there's more than one output that's necessary here. There's the op return is required, as well as the token output, and the change you could get around, but either way, you still need 2 outputs at minimum. And this signature method can only sign a single input-output pair. So for that reason, it won't work. Someone could take your offer and not add the op return. Like, let's say if you were the buyer and you signed your input and this output. Well, if a seller came around, they could just not add the op return and they could burn the tokens and screw you over. So you'd have to trust them. Additionally, there's no way to verify that they use an actual token input. They can put any input they want. And tokens aren't something that miners are aware of, so there's no miner enforcement. So long story short, there's no way to do atomic instant sales where the buyer is the market maker and the seller is the market taker. You can only do it the other way around. But there are some middle ground options. If I am the buyer and I want to buy these M15 tokens, this doesn't work currently, but from a technological perspective, it's possible. I could see that this person owns it, and I could potentially look at their M15 UTXO and make an offer to purchase this UTXO. And even using the same protocol, you add all your inputs and outputs that you would be needed. You don't even have to buy the full token amount. You could buy, like if this is 90 in this UTXO, you could buy 80 of them and return, or buy 10 of them and return 80 to the seller, and sign the transaction. And broadcast it to someone who owns the tokens. Where did that original one go? So let's say this user never listed the tokens for sale. They're just passively hold tokens. Well, this user could come around and make them an offer, and then and include a signature with that offer too. And then now this user could come online and see like, oh, this person's made an offer to purchase my tokens. So you can't just make a general offer, but you can make specific offers to specific users. And again, that's not currently implemented, but the technology makes that possible. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Well, thanks for listening, and let me know if there's anything else you want me to cover in the future. Thanks.